Okay, when you're ready.
The audience for my creative brochure will be 15 to 19-year-olds. It's slightly larger than just the 15, 16-year-olds because the college offers courses that you can take after A-levels and BTEC, so it tends to apply to people that might take on a later course. And also not necessarily directly appeal to 21 to 30-year-olds, but attract them in a sense for those people that want to do like higher education later on in life when they decide that they want to carry on. The unique selling point of my creative brochure will be that there's literally no text in it at all, apart from quotes, inspirational like art quotes on the back of it. It's just going to be photos of students creating their outcomes, but not necessarily their final outcomes. Like, it's more about seeing them do a hands-on approach to it. And the only text will be underneath that is the name of the student and what course they're on, and possibly what project they're working on. Yeah, and I looked at 2 prospectuses already, and basically, obviously, the first one's Brighton, and it just shows that it's pages and pages of text, and that's for an art course that they're advertising, and there's literally one picture. In comparison to one with just loads of pictures, it's a bit more interesting to look at, and when you see a load of text, no one ever really knows where to start because there's too much information to take in. The colour palettes that I chose, the first one was more of an idea because my idea is going to be 10 small individual books, not showcasing the courses that the college has to offer, but more about the subjects. So I thought maybe the colour of each book could be completely different, and then it would be put together and given out as a group of books. I actually decided to go for the second one. I liked the idea of using blue because it's a colour that's widely recognised with the college anyway. So I thought I'd stick with some sort of running theme. The fonts, the headings, I looked at the headings and I would probably use the end one, Zono Pro Bold, but I've adjusted the tracking on it because originally the letters were a lot further apart and I liked it that it looked a bit more closer together. But I'm not entirely sure where I'd put that in because I don't think there'll be many headings because the titles of the books are going to be made from the media of the book that it's going to be showcasing. So for example, if it was a book about printing, the words would be printed on the front of the book. But the body copy I've chose to do Georgia because it still has, it's not completely boring, it's okay to read, it's still quite a nice font, but it's got that academic feel as well. So keep it with the college. Yeah, so the idea of it is 10 small books. The titles will be made with the media. The bottom one is a prototype. I didn't get a chance to print it out. Like, I couldn't get my hard drive to work upstairs for some reason. But at the bottom, it's basically showing that the back would have a quote on, and the front would have the word drawing, for example, but it would be hand drawn, not typed. It was just a mock-up, and then inside would just be pictures of students working. While I was making that, I also decided that refining it could mean that I could put drawing equipment behind in the white space, like have some negative space, but fill up some of it with drawing equipment, so it's a bit more, there's a bit more going on and there's more to look at in a sense. The sketches and layouts were kind of just ideas. The painting is supposed to look like it was done with a paintbrush and so on and so forth. It will be done in the same media. I'll be using one piece of A4 card to produce each book, so it will just be folded in half. I didn't want to create something too busy and too much. I just thought one inside double spread would be enough, and I could easily make the photo smaller or larger and have as many as I wanted in there, but I don't want it to look too busy. I just want it to just showcase the different things that we offer, not necessarily the courses. The titles that I'm going to, the titles of the books will be drawing, painting, printing, fashion, video, animation, sculpture, photography, graphics and textiles. They're going to be the subjects that I look into. And because it's such a wide, because there's so much to do, I didn't want to overdo it with the amount of work. I wanted to make sure each one looked good in a sense that if I put 10 pages in each one, it would start to look rushed, and I didn't want that, so I thought I'd just keep it simple. On the back of each book will be a quote, so those are the 10 quotes that I picked to use. The other materials that I'll use is like paint, pencils, and like patterned fabrics for creating the textiles, title and stuff like that. Yeah, that's pretty much
it. I quite like the idea of it being fairly simple and it not having a lot of information in the book. However, form follows function. So at the end of the day, this needs to function as a booklet. So in order for me to pick this up and be inspired to come to Chichester College, it needs to identify with Chichester College, and it needs to link me somehow with what is going on in that subject matter at Chichester College.
Okay.
So to have absolutely nothing about Chichester College and the courses that link with those subject matter is maybe just a tad too minimalist.
Okay.
I kind of don't know what, I kind of think of something like a web address just on the back, or a barcode thing zooming you straight so you can get your phone ding, straight to the information.
Okay.
You know, something like that. I like the idea of the quotes, I think that's really cool. Do think the quotes need to connect, would be cool if the quotes connected with sculpture, with animation, with photography. Kind of like the idea of them being individual. The photographs that you use, minimalism and trying to keep things simple is the hardest thing in the world. So photos, you're going to have to be a bit careful you don't end up looking like a photo book. You know, you've just chucked up after you've been on holiday. Though having said that, it sounds like I'm being really kind of pulling it down, but actually the idea of it, I think it's got, but there's a bit of work to be done to make it functional.
Any further input? Josh?
How many pages do you think you're doing for this kind of book? Like how many, is it going to be quite a big book with lots of photos in?
No, it's literally
Where were you? She explained
Yeah, I
that.
was going to say she said that.
So pay attention,
Piece of
please.
A4 card folded.
Yeah.
Igor, any questions? How do you feel about it? Are you excited by it?
How would, so you have these little booklets everywhere. How were they going to be just like laid out on the table? How, like, was it going to be like, did they go into an envelope or something?
Yeah, they're going to kind
Is
of come. I didn't actually put anything in there. I completely didn't even realise I was focusing on the actual books with the information, but it will just come like in a little folder in a sense and then be given out.
I mean, how you display this is going to be important. I had the project a while back, something similar to this, and the one that won the end, the one I put into print, was just 2 sides. And it just folded into this really cool little folded item, sat on the top and said, let your creativity flow. That's all it said on the outside. And then you opened it up and you just couldn't resist picking it up because it was so cool and it's so unusual. And that's kind of that, you've got to get people to go, oh, it's interesting.
What paper are you going to use?
Just A4 white
This is
card. Just
right,
matte, yeah.
Sorry. Didn't hear that one.
But
I don't have any technical. Maybe what is, because everybody has some kind of special thing in their brochure. What is your unique thing that nobody's gonna have, like the kind of thing that is gonna make it more unique.
It's more about the subjects as opposed to the courses that they offer. So it's just looking at, like, say for instance, if you weren't sure if you wanted to do an art and design course because you weren't entirely sure what it offered. Some people look at a graphics course and a prospectus and think that's not really for me because it doesn't really explain it. But I thought doing something like that, you'd see all the potential things you would cover and it might get people more interested because they don't realise the scope of art and design necessarily.
Do you think it might get them confused as well?
Slightly.
I think you've got an idea, but I don't think you've thought it out properly. Because actually, as I've said before, I fear I repeat myself, actually achieving what you said, I think it's quite got a really good idea behind it. But you've not got to the entity of it. As you say, loads of pictures could be very similar of a graphic illustrator and a graphic designer and a fashion illustrator, and that the photos could pretty much look the same. You know, so it's got a bit of work. It's an idea.
I think one of the most exciting things about a lot of the courses that we run here are the fact that they're really cross-disciplinary. And it's the vocabulary that I'm expecting to hear from you guys in terms of investigating what we do here, really understanding it. I think a lot of thinking has taken place in terms of, oh, I think an art college does this, but hands-on observation, going into studios, paying attention to what people are doing, I'm not sure, do you know what I mean? So for example, it's kind of like when a little kid draws a tree. They draw the tree that they think a tree should look like, as opposed to what a tree actually looks like. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah?
And you're showing me pictures, you're showing me images of things that is this kind of computer age thing, and I'm telling you right now, you know, it's a wonderful thing, but nobody's ever come and asked me. I've been in this business for years and done all sorts of different things, you know, and you could go around and ask, you'd get so much more information, and then that would feed into, once you've got your underpinning knowledge, it's showing me a picture of a prospectus with loads of pages on it is not the basis for research. You know, you've got to go out and look at loads of, go in and ask us guys in there about what courses we offer.
I think, yeah, that's the next stage though, isn't it? That's
Absolutely.
fine. Yeah?
I think you make it work.
Okay, you're going to wrap up there? Thank you ever so much, Lauren.